The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
And good morning, good afternoon now, everyone, and welcome to our special webinar on geomarketing. I'd like to introduce Dr. Stephen Downs from QBrand Consulting. Good afternoon, Stephen.
Good afternoon, Craig.
Great to have you on board. Excellent, and look forward to exploring what this thing called geomarketing is in more detail. And our special guest and presenter, Samir Babbar from SVB Group. Good afternoon, Samir.
Good afternoon, Craig, and thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. So just a bit of housekeeping before we move into it. So in case you're new to webinars, those of you who have done it before will know most of this, but we always need to accommodate the new people. So you'll see a device looking like that, which is our control panel, and by using the little orange arrow there, or the white arrow in the orange box, you can move the screen across. And you've also got controls over the appearance using the drop down there under view. So you can alter the way you view the presentation. It could be full screen or part screen and so forth. We may, if you're using the audio, you've got a choice of either mic and speakers or headphones under that option. That will automatically kick in as voice over IP. Or if you're having any difficulties with that, certainly you can use the telephone option. And you won't need the PIN necessarily if you're not talking to us, but as long as you can hear us, that's the main thing. But there's the telephone details as well, using not that access code, that's a sample access code, but the one that came to you in your webinar invitation. We're also going to be, feel free to ask your questions throughout the presentation, and you can see on your console the question window. So you can send a question to us throughout the presentation, and we'll have that fielded as best we can during the presentation. So feel free to do that at any time. It's simply typing in the question, and then send and or enter, and we'll see it at this end to field our panel. And also, if we do need a show of hands, there's a little hand control there that you can show your hand. We might ask you a question about, your use of geomarketing or other marketing questions. So you can, if that's the case, just click on that button and we'll see your response within the system. I think that's most of what we need today. So I'm going to hand over now to Stephen to conduct the rest of the presentation. So over to you, Stephen and Samir.
Thanks very much, Craig. As a market researcher, which is sort of my first job, and also teaching marketing at Swinburne and previously at RMIT, I've long, of course, taught the 4 Ps of marketing: product, price, place and promotion, which may be familiar to people. But the place P always referred to channels of distribution and not physical location per se. But it's fair to say that all that's changed in the last few years. Samir Babbar, who I'm about to introduce, has worked in the area of geomarketing for over a decade, well over a decade, since before most of us knew what GPS was, or the thought of checking in on social media was just some kind of science fiction. But of course there's more to geomarketing than all that, as Samir is going to tell us. There are now tools accessible to marketers that used to be the province really of only the large, huge data houses, and that really is making the use of location as a factor in your marketing strategy now much more a practical possibility for the average marketer, small, medium and large business, without the necessity of having that kind of huge number crunches in the background. So with that said, it's my pleasure to introduce Samir Babbar of SVB Group to tell you a little more about what geomarketing actually is and how it might be useful in your marketing strategy and your marketing thinking. Samir.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Much appreciated. And thank you for having me here. But just to touch upon and go through it, and if there are any questions, please stop me, interrupt me, and ask me questions along the way. So what is geomarketing? And geomarketing is actually the application of geographical or locational intelligence in marketing. Now, it's come into the fore very much because of the apps and the technologies that we have started using now. But this technology has been there in the vogue, and many companies and organizations have used it for some time. And what is geomarketing research? It is the marketing research in a combination of geographical intelligence. Now, typically geographical intelligence and marketing as a combination relies on a lot of statistical software. Experts or gurus in statistics, mapping software, gurus who can make nice maps, geographical analysis and the algorithms that go with that, statistical analysis, the domain of marketing, and obviously access to vast amount of organizational data, market data, business data, weather data, and so on and so forth. So typically we leverage all these sets of information analysis and software for geomarketing services. The questions that we might be trying to answer can be related to routing and logistics. For example, let's say I have 10 warehouses. How can I move my truck around so that it uses the most efficient route or routes and burns the least amount of fuel? And over a period of time, it saves us costs. And we took an example at Greek Roads some time ago that from Dandenong and Doncaster, there's frozen transport moving on a daily basis. By optimizing the route pretty much regularly, sending SMSs and rerouting the trucks in case there is a congestion, we could save on an average of 10 minutes of time on a daily basis for about 800 trucks. So if you add them up over a period of a year, it's a profound saving in costs. Territorial planning, and sometimes the workload of your sales force is not optimized. You know, one sales guy is under a heavy workload, but low profitability. On the other hand, the other sales team or individual might get away with it. So how the workload can be efficiently distributed, how the territories can be distributed, and we'll talk about that in a bit more depth further. How you can select the sites so that they are most optimal for you and your business growth. So let's dig into it further. Some of the cool applications, and that will set the scene right, some of the cool applications that you would have already used in iPhone or any other smartphone, that where am I? Yeah, you sometimes want to find out where your location is, where is the nearest bank branch. You could have used Google Maps. How do you get from point A to point B? So those kind of products, solutions, or apps are already there. But what this does is it sets your relationship with the proximity, and whatever the transaction you are interested in, business transaction, be it social transaction, it helps you optimize that pretty much in real time. Geofencing. Now, geofencing these days has found a lot of applications. iBeacon technology, which is just being introduced, NFCs, and we'll touch upon that in a bit more detail further. Is the customer nearby? That's the answer that we're trying to get to. Is if you have a mobile phone, you're looking for a product, whether you can find a product, or if your kids are playing around your house and they cross 10 meters, they go 10 meters away from the house, you get an alert on your mobile phone that you better look out for your kids. Now, these kind of business applications are coming to the fore. Or if you are moving a truck loaded with some items from point A to point B, and the truck is supposed to take a particular route, you want to make sure that the truck stays on course. And if the truck goes out of the course, then obviously you need an alert. Foxtel, they do this if in terms of geographical rights management, that if you're watching a video which is only applicable for US and it doesn't have rights for Australia, and you try to view that, you get on an online viewing, you get a message that you can't watch this program. Footfalls, and people who are in business, they would have come across more often than less that foot traffic is really important, or vehicle traffic is really important, whether you have to get the customers through the door, or whether you have to put placards and ads to see that it's got the highest visibility. OD studies, origin and destination studies, where are the demand centers, how people are going to get to it, ingress, egress of that. And a typical example will be that if you see most of the Dan Murphys, in case of Australia, they are located on the left-hand side of the road when you're leaving the CBD and going to any destination, and not the other way around, because you're more likely to purchase alcohol when you are heading away from your work. So where, the word where, it plays a very predominant role in terms of your recreational activities, where you live, where you work, where you shop, where you go for entertainment, pretty much all the business aspects. It's an important thing. So different types of businesses use it, whether you are placing an ad for your business, or you're trying to co-locate a business so that the business have mutual advantage. For example, in Melbourne, a lot of businesses, food businesses, are located in Lygon Street. Now, this is because people come to that location as a destination, and because the businesses are co-located, so they get a lot of flow on traffic and a lot of complementary advantages because of that. So where does play a very important role in any business activity, and we cannot afford to ignore that. Now, this technology, or this concept, has been in vogue since 32,000 years ago. 32,000-year-old map from France on the walls actually shows how the game is located with respect to the cave of early human settlers. And we are still using it in different ways, shape or form, whether it's weather forecasting, teed up with rain data, or summer temperature data, augmented with how the sales of a 7-Eleven can be optimized on a hot sunny day because it's in close proximity of school. So big companies are already using it, and some of the technologies we have now available that even small companies can take advantage of that, and the technology doesn't need to be so comprehensively, so complex and expensive. Why do we need this location intelligence technology in conjunction with other methods? Now, this is a completely transparent method. It doesn't really work with any hidden secrets. It's an objective process. You can do a speedy and efficient analysis. You can identify new potential. It's a mathematical process. It's universally applicable. You minimize the business risk. Yeah. And one of the important things that is good to note is it's bottom up as well as top down. Typically in a business scenario, you would have seen management consultants might go to a CEO and say, Mr. CEO, what's your issue? Mr. CEO will sell that, look, I need to improve the profitability, and the management consultant will break it down into multiple parts and then try and address each part based on the bounded rationality of the Mr. Consultant. This particular process, because it's bottom up, it looks at data coming in from multiple sources. It's not limited by the rationality of the person doing the analysis, but it's more open and accessible that translates the information directly into value. And you can have a deep understanding of market at micro as well as macro levels. That's why it is important to look at this approach. Now, how do you pinpoint customers? To know target group of customers, you need to address the following questions, obviously. In which areas new customers can be acquired? So you can pinpoint customers, for example, on a map. You can see the distribution and you can understand where are most of the customers coming from, whether it's on a street level or a postcode basis, and where are the market gaps. how efficient direct marketing can be deployed. And if you're already getting customers from a particular street, you don't have to really go for direct marketing in those areas. You have to target your mail outs in an area where there are market gaps, how you can optimize your marketing resources. How do customers respond to samples? If you're distributing samples, how are customers in a particular area responding to it? Where should the advertising be positioned? What are the good locations of placing placards? So all these mechanisms will help you tailor your marketing strategy. So how do you start? Obviously, you start with the initial assessment about what's your objective. You can use self-manage or free tools. In self-manage, obviously, you'll have to come up to speed by developing a good understanding. Google's a good place to start, but it'll obviously require you to invest time and energy, and it introduces a project risk because you not only have to understand the inner workings of the technology, but you have to have a good understanding and grasp on the number of components we talked about in the initial section. So you can move to some of the quick commercial tools which allow you to produce very comprehensive and fast results, or you can go to a full comprehensive analysis where you can have high-end systems and solutions for maps, data, market research and analysis, and mostly depends on your cost and time that what particular process or approach that you need to choose to get to a particular outcome. Some of the case examples I'd like to point you to which work on a different level of abstraction. You need to have a good understanding of the store and the vicinity, which the site where the store is located and the trade area, and we can working at different levels of abstraction, geographic intelligence. We can come up with an answer. For example, let's talk about IKEA. I'm sure you would have had some experience of going to IKEA. At the checkout counter, the salesperson or the sales lady, the checkout lady will always ask you, what's your postcode? Recently, they have introduced loyalty card, and by identifying your postcode, they get a lot of information about you. They know what is the demographic profile of the postcode. They know what sort of disposable income people have on postcode, and all this information is available from Australian Bureau of Statistics data that you provide the census. So overlaid that information with your postcode and what you purchase is when you have bought, what is the basket or what is the purchase size, how frequently you visit or a person from your postcode visits IKEA. It helps them profile what sort of products are being sold, on what date, at what frequency, what is the average basket size, and quite a swag of information. It helps businesses like IKEA to not only look at their merchandise planning, not only to look at how to stock their inventory, but it also helps businesses to open a new store, when and where to open a new store. And this similar strategy was used by Costco, how they are going about opening their chains of stores. So loyalty cards, as you would have seen, a number of companies use this loyalty card, but not all companies, they know how to leverage the information that is coming from the customers, and that is also flagged as a big data issue. We'll touch upon big data in a minute. This is a very interesting example. There's a project we worked on in Adelaide, and what we found was the business, which was a restaurant chain. They were wrongly targeting the customers without disclosing the name of the restaurant. Of course, if you can look at the location, you might be able to guess. You see these red areas, the intense red areas reflect the locations where they were getting high number of customers. So all these red areas, if you can see, there's high number of customers, and the big bars actually show the revenues that are coming from different areas. So interestingly, what was happening was this restaurant chain was competing with McDonald's and burger chains all around in the CBD area, and as a result, they were discounting the prices to get more traction, which they were getting. So they were getting a lot of customers, a lot of revenue, but the profitability was bleak. And as it was found out while we started overlaying the location intelligence and the demographic information, that the profitability was coming from the top right-hand corner. If you see that on the top right-hand corner, there is a suburb with a postcode 5089, which is yellow, and 5090. So they were getting, though less number of customers, but more profitable customers. And while we dig deeper in the data, we found that these customers were coming to get some fish food. And what had happened is the restaurant over a period of time had moved from a fish food restaurant, which used to be a destination for these people, to a burger chain. And they were getting customers, they were getting traction, but the customer profitability was going out of the window. And these customers were coming during the peak hours and encroaching upon the real estate. Tables and chairs were occupied. So, by changing the strategy and looking at the location information, they could turn the business around and recapture that 20% of the lost profitability that they could have done otherwise. So that was a very good case example for us. So coming back to the mailing budget from there, that you need to know what areas you're targeting. So the unaddressed mail or the mass mail, that's or junk mail, so as commonly known, that is distributed comes up with a huge price. You need to understand where the marketing gaps are. So this is a critical strategic move for the companies to save their marketing dollar and optimize their marketing budget to target the areas where the customer penetration is low, but the customer's demographic profile is similar to what they are targeting. Territory alignment, how the sales force is distributed among various territories. Now, by aligning the sales force optimally among different territories, a typical business can save, as our research indicates, between 3 to 10% of the bottom line. And a typical example of this could be that an organization might have a salesperson working at a territory over a period of time, and customers get added and new sales representatives join, and they're given a new territory and they get customers. But what happens is that over a period of time, the workload gets unevenly distributed, the expectations change, and some of the sales staff is working very hard for a lower profitability or compensation, whereas some of the staff might be getting a higher compensation with a lower effort. And this misalignment of effort and outcome sometimes affects the morale of the staff deployed in an organization. So territory alignment not only addresses the staff morale issues, but also how to capture the market in a much better way. So now this is a demographic distribution showing, it's in case of Sydney, that how a particular business's prospective customers are distributed. Now this is to understand, now, let's say for businesses targeting high disposable income, business can assess, what are the areas of high disposable income, or French-speaking migrants, or it could be any other psychographic profile or demographic profile that they can be targeting. Stephen, would you like to add the profile aspect here?
Samir, I think you've explained things pretty well, but certainly in terms of understanding demographic distribution is a critical step in segmentation, which is a really important, of course, first step in targeting for, it should be for any business, identifying different groups of customers, customers who respond differently to your marketing mix and to your, that are seeking different kinds of value. And that applies to any business, at least, thinking about where the most valuable customers are, the ones that are the best match for your value-creating capabilities. And demographic distribution, where those particular demographic profiles are distributed, of course, can be a very important piece of information for that segmentation.
Thank you, Stephen. So you can understand the demographics from Australian Bureau of Statistics data, which is commonly available. And as Stephen has interestingly highlighted, a lot of information is available via research and market research companies. They can take a deeper dive into certain aspects or certain behavioral elements that you're looking at for people to better target them in a specific area. How do you plan a business location that can also be served by geomarketing? For example, let's say you have potential options of locating a new business at multiple locations. You need to look at what is the current potential and what is the future potential, whether there is a demographic shift happening in the population, or there is a growth in the population, or there is new people of a certain profile coming to that area. What is the catchment propensity? What is the disposable income of the people? Is it likely to rise or fall? What is the catchment consumption of a particular product? How do the catchments overlap? And we'll touch upon that in a bit more detail. Whether the logistics are going to help in this area, and how far can you get in 2 minutes of walk time or 2 minutes of drive time, so that you understand if you're having a cafe, it needs to be 2 minutes of walk time from some other cafe, or it has to be next door to it. So all this logistical aspects of getting to a business, getting out from a business, or competing business in the vicinity is important to be understood at all stages of business. Opportunity scoring is another way that you can look at, and this is a particular example of a high-profile group of people, how they, business people, how they were looking at different markets. In this particular case, the opportunity scoring was used to look at what is the access to markets, what is the access to talent, connectivity, ease of travel, business climate, languages spoken, and quality of life. And the number of locations were selected, and by scoring the opportunity on this rose diagram, we could come up very easily, obviously visually appealing way, that what are the areas that the business should choose for a particular activity. Cannibalization. Now, this is a very interesting concept in business. When you have, let's say, franchise, where you're a franchisor or you're a franchisee, or you have independent businesses, sometimes what happens is how you have installed these businesses and how they interact. That plays a very interesting part, and you can sometimes measure this with loyalty card information and where do the customers go and shop. So if you look at this example, you have two sets of ISO lines, or these colorful patches on the screen. Now what these reflect is the customers that live in these areas where they go and shop. Now these are two separate blotches that you can see on the screen that they don't meet. All that means is that the customers who live in these areas, they are consuming at these two locations. Now the situation might change for different businesses. Like in this case, you will see that there is an overlap of the red area. That means these two businesses, they have some common customers. That means that these customers, they can go to either of these outlets. Now, banks use this very often to align their outlets with the customer base, or devise the products to target the customers. In this particular case, when the businesses are very when they are co-located or close by, what happens is they kind of share the customers. And what happens by doing that is the assets of the business, they are not optimally being utilized, and there is a cannibalization happening because the businesses, or because the customers who could have gone to just one business entity. Now they've got two businesses to go to, and they can choose. Sometimes the cannibalization by business is deliberate, but sometimes it's inadvertent. So you have to be mindful whether you are deliberately cannibalizing your own business and impacting the opportunity. This is an opportunity, a similar opportunity scoring technique that was used to kind of identify where to put a new fast food outlet. Now, red areas obviously are related to the growth in the population. This is Melbourne Southeast, for some of those who don't know. And glass half full is the area where the market is reasonably saturated. Glass empty and glass full, obviously the same. Glass half full means there's some opportunity. Glass empty means these are clean areas for us to actually install a new business or new opportunity. And you see there is a glass with a new design. That means these areas are coming up, and in future there will be an opportunity emerging. So this is how we use the opportunity scoring and the demographics and the geomarketing to suggest to the business that what are the areas they should look at installing a new franchise. Big data, as you would have come across a term, what it is, with demographic data, with the geographic data and number of data, if you introduce variability, velocity, and volume, what we get is big data, and it's typically happening in terms of your mobile apps that are coming in. And with the predominance of mobile phone users and mobile phone apps, you can now use geofencing, and you can send discount vouchers to your prospects who are within the geofenced area or within the close proximity of your outlet, and they can go and shop at your business. So all that it does is it keeps track of your location vis-a-vis the location of the business. You can tell your friends you're here. You can do a whole lot of business activities just by relaying your location and relaying the location of where the business is, or combining the two. You can get a very powerful outcome. Google AdWords, I'm sure you would have come across. If you know the area of your potential customers, your targeting becomes much better, and you're more likely to get a good outcome of your AdWords campaign. And similarly, in Facebook ads, you're more likely to be successful if you understand your geomarketing concepts and you can target your customers better. NFC and iBeacon technology that has just been introduced by Apple. NFC works on, iBeacon technology works on Bluetooth. So while you're using iPhone via Bluetooth, it works more like a geographic positioning system within a shopping outlet. And when you're close to a particular product, the discount voucher can be directly sent to your mobile phone, so that you are encouraged to consume more or buy a product or buy a service or get any information about a product. So depending on what is required by the business, whether the purpose is identification, ticketing, loyalty or membership, cashless payment, transit, physical access, time and attendance, and all these application of NFCs are emerging now. So bottom line here is this geomarketing is an important concept, and please don't leave money on the table. Knowing what you're doing and leveraging this aspect will definitely impact your bottom line. Some of the products that I thought we'll mention, we have introduced, which you can use, and free trial is available online if you want to have a look. These are SVB Mapper, which allows you to geocode the data. That is, you can put push pins on the map. You can identify the areas of higher concentration of your prospects or customers. If you have a CRM data, you can upload it. SVB Surface allows you to use Australian Bureau of Statistics data and you can paint the demographic profile within the map of Australia, and you can start targeting your customers better. If you are seeking an independent advice, what we would suggest in terms of geomarketing and products and services, that objectivity and impartial advice from planning to implementation is important. You have to see what products, services, and data are available, and what expertise and experience in domain is available, because the concepts, though they sound complex, but they are very simple to use and implement. Now I'll open it to Stephen and Craig to join in, and any questions that there might be from the users, from the attendees. Craig.
Thanks. Thanks, Amir. Stephen here. That was really interesting, I think, thought starter on some of the ways that geomarketing, and there's a whole lot of different tools and techniques that you've outlined that fall under that umbrella, and some of the ways that can be used. I'm interested, and certainly I'll invite any questions from our participants, but I'm interested in the concept that I think there are obviously multiple, a lot of the examples you've shown I guess for clarity have used a single measure or a small combination of things, but I'm interested in how often you would combine, for example, in your cannibalization slides, you're talking about where consumers live, presumably, but of course we can map against that where they work, what routes they take to work, what's their preference. They like to buy this on the way to work, but they buy something else on the way home from work. As you outlined earlier, the alcohol example, the bottle shop example. But I presume that more sophisticated levels of this can look at the combination of customer preferences, transport modes, location, etc. And I guess the sorts of businesses I'm thinking of are convenience stores and Coles Express and things like that, which can, I presume, also get some sense of patterns about time of day and that kind of stuff, about where people are and where they're heading and what route they're taking at different times of the day.
Yes, I think it's a valid point, Stephen. And for example, when people get to work or go from work to home, and you'll see that there is a peak generated about 8 a.m. in the morning and then about 5 p.m. in the evening, and these are two peak curves. And knowing some of the experience I've had at Vic Roads, looking at the data, now this peak might be different for different roads and different times and different locations. Now it solely depends on the requirement of the business. Now, are they going to just target the peak business during those hours, whether they are looking at foot traffic, whether they're looking at ingress and egress, what sort of questions a business is looking at answering. The tools and the complexity might vary. What I have presented here is some sort of an entry-level, basic, easy-to-use, quick results-based tools that I think any and every business can use, because they hang off Microsoft Excel. Business can use any of the data they have, including Microsoft Excel, and come up with very quick results. That said, for example, the catchment analysis, now that's a bit more complex type solution. Now that requires an understanding of your existing customer prospective profile. It looks at demographic information that there is. It also looks at if you have, let's say, existing businesses in a particular area. So how the mashup of all these different forces are playing out. You have to actually break it down first and understand what type of problem we are trying to solve, like any other business issue. So I would, very simply, the way I would put it is, it will always depend on the business problem you're trying to address, and the tools and technologies will depend on how it will enable you to solve those issues.
Absolutely.
I had one question at this
if
end.
you do have any questions, you can type them in.
Yep. Sorry, Stephen. I was just inquiring about. Obviously, there's a fairly clear consumer application with geomarketing. My question's around business to business, and is that a slower uptake of geomarketing, Samir, or is that something that's growing?
Yes, it is rapidly growing from business to business, and if you look at typically in a business-to-business sense, the AdWords, the iBeacon technology is growing. Business-to-business also, the logistics applications, that's requirement is up on the rise. But that said, every business they need to understand how their customers are distributed, so how they can reach out to them, how they can improve their logistics, how they can target them better, how they can put more ads in the local newspaper so that they are reaching out, what sort of media they should be choosing to make sure that the penetration is high. So it's all that comes together when business talks to business, and I think it's really important from that perspective.
Great, thank you for that.
Thanks, Samir. I'd like to add a note, more than a question, but interested in your comments too, Samir, that while you've shown us a myriad kind of applications, it seems like the scope for for a geomarketing approach is really limited only by imagination, and I would also point out by strategy.
That's right.
This really needs to be thinking about geomarketing. It's not a tool that you just say, ooh, I must get some of this. This is really about thinking about your business, understanding your customers, and identifying how you might gain if you knew more about where your customers are, where they're coming from, where they're going to, and that kind of thing. So it really needs to be integrated into other marketing strategy. I think it's exciting because for the first time really in the history of marketing, now marketers of all kinds really have access to a variety of these tools that really are about physical location, that can add physical location to the marketing mix.
Yes. Yes, I think you summed it very nicely, Stephen, and what you put as a note is fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Samir. Are there any other questions from our audience, our participants?
Look, I think it's been a great introduction, and there's no specific questions as such. So I think unless there's anything else that might conclude our webinar for the day. Thank you very much to Stephen Downs, Dr. Stephen Downs, of course, from QBrand Consulting, and we've also got Samir Babbar's details there, if in case you'd like to make direct contact with him. So thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a fantastic insight into what's going on in the world of geomarketing, and look forward to your company on another webinar very soon. Good afternoon, Stephen, and thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Samir. Bye-bye, and bye for now.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.